If you're already thinking about January and your first instinct is, okay, what AI tools can crank out my bell ringers, slides, feedback, and lesson plans faster? Pause for just a second. Because if you start this new year on autopilot, don't be surprised when your students do too. And look, I get it. Autopilot feels efficient, it feels safe, it feels like survival. But it's also the fastest way to drain the energy out of your classroom before the 3 dozen tamales and brownies you ate during the break are even fully digested. So today, I want to share 3 simple changes to help you avoid teaching on autopilot this next year without adding more work to your plate. This isn't about banning AI, it's about making sure you don't disappear behind it. This episode is sponsored by myself and my book, Cooking Up Experiences in the Classroom, Focus on Experiences, Not Just Lessons. The entire book is about taking lessons you already teach and turning them into moments students actually remember, which is exactly what we're talking about in today's episode. And because I can't help myself, there are also 12 cooking recipes in this book. Teaching and cooking have a lot in common. They both fall flat when you rely on shortcuts. I've also dropped my sourdough recipe in the show notes. It's simple, budget-friendly, and a total reset for the new year. On with the episode. Let's start with change 1. Change 1 is stop letting efficiency replace human presence. And here's the hard truth, ladies and gentlemen. Autopilot teaching doesn't usually look bad. If you're using tools like Diffit or Brisk Teaching, the slides are clean, the assignments are aligned, the feedback sounds somewhat professional, but without human injection and intervention, they feel empty. I can't think of any other word to describe it. Students don't disengage because content is wrong. They disengage because it's not personal. They can tell when a lesson is being delivered instead of lived or experienced. Speaking of experiences, make sure you pick up a copy of my book for this new year, Cooking Up Experiences in the Classroom. Shameless plug. Here we go. Your presence, your tone, your stories, your reactions, your humor, that's what really makes a difference in the classroom. That's the difference maker. And none of that can be automated. If everything in your classroom feels prepackaged, students stop leaning in with curiosity. So one simple shift for this year, plan at least one moment each week where you are the main event, not the slides, not the tool, not the prompt. I'm talking real moments. That can be in the form of a warm-up that invites students to collaborate with one another for a review, questioning activity where students create questions with the group to stump another group, or anything else where we can put students in situations to think critically, problem solve, and be creative with one another, especially with the amount of time our students are spending in front of a screen, both in and out of school. And whatever activity you decide to do with your students, make sure that you are walking the room, or as I call it, moving about the cabin and interacting with students. Maybe pull a small group aside to intervene or clarify content. Whatever you do, resist the temptation to sit at your mega desk with multiple monitors, external keyboard, external mouse, and write emails, enter grades, or even worse, work on your plays for this evening's big game because you're also an athletic coach. Why? Because students don't need better formatting. They need you and each other in the room. Change 2. Set one clear boundary with AI. Let's say it clearly. AI is not the problem. Overusing and using it incorrectly is, however. When everything is AI generated, lessons, feedback, activities, it quietly sends a message. Not the one that you intend, but the one that students receive. It says, this was fast, this wasn't personal, this doesn't need much effort. Parents notice generic feedback as well. So if you use parent responder prompts or run parent emails through a tool before responding, do us parents a favor and edit your output to meet the needs of all parties involved. Make sure it's coming and sounds like it's coming from you and not a robot doing a horrible job of impersonating you. I'm not going to lie. I actually have a parent responder tool I use and share with others. It's actually on my website. I believe it's titled The One Prompt to Prepare You for Any Parent Meeting. However, I use it to give me ideas. I don't use the output verbatim. Using it verbatim is the textbook definition of using AI incorrectly. I don't do that, nor do I condone you do that either. Administrators also notice copy and paste instructions. When you submit your lesson plan for a possible observation, administrators can tell an AI written lesson that's done verbatim just like they can sniff out a canned lesson. Well, a good administrator can, at least. Sure, it's easy and efficient, but if your admin can sniff it out, or your student growth data or lack thereof proves that it's not working, time to be a little bit more human focused with your lessons and instruction. And students, they lower the bar immediately. When students sniff out an AI generated lesson with no modification to it, they tap out. They'll do exactly what you did when creating the lesson. Put in minimal effort. If you offload all of the lifting to an AI resource to make something for you from beginning to end, your students will do the same. If there are no opportunities for true engagement, critical thinking, creativity, and choice, your students will give you the bare minimum effort. Basically, what you put in to create that lesson. Bare minimum. AI should reduce busy work behind the scenes, not replace thinking in front of students. So, here's maybe a boundary for you with AI in 2026. Use AI to support planning, but not be the voice of your classroom. Instead of prompting AI to give you a lesson on a topic, ask it for creative ways to teach this while incorporating human engagement, student to student, and teacher to student. If AI is doing the thinking for students instead of helping you think with them, it's gone too far. Change number 3. Do one human first thing this January. January sets the emotional tone for the rest of the year. And if January feels robotic, the semester is going to feel ridiculously long. Burnout doesn't always come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much that feels meaningless. You know that feeling you get when you wash dishes for 20 or 30 minutes after a big meal? It wasn't a very physically taxing thing to do, but doing it over and over and over, day in and day out, will burn you out from ever wanting to wash another dish. So don't overhaul anything, just do one bold, human-centered thing. Tell a story you actually care about. Maybe a story having to deal with the content you might be teaching. Tell them how you learned it, or maybe the mistakes that you made with that content when you were first learning it. And don't be afraid to embellish a bit for the sake of your students. If you need to tell them that the fish was this big, then do so. Whatever can make them lean in with curiosity won't hurt, as long as it's not devastating to you or them. Run a discussion with no slides, and make sure you pass the mic to the students during this discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that a discussion is two-way, not one way. I'm talking to you, athletic coaches. Just because you're the voice on the field, court, or the locker room does not mean that you are the sole voice in a classroom. Nothing makes students check out quicker than no opportunity to speak with others in a meaningful way. Another way to accomplish this is to write meaningful and personal feedback on maybe one writing assignment. Tie it to something you know about them. I remember when I taught 4th grade, and I was talking to the class about their writing projects. I mentioned Juan's pet snake to the class. He mentioned it briefly in one sentence in one of his writing assignments, and when I brought it up out loud, his face lit up. I knew that look that he gave me. That was the look of, he actually read my writing. I remember you, Juan. I'm pretty sure your snake isn't alive anymore, but I bet you he made a fantastic belt that you're still rocking to this day. Maybe you want to try a lesson that isn't perfectly polished, but it feels alive. Maybe play a game show like Jeopardy with your students that is all analog. No projection, no screens. This will guarantee excitement and keep the engagement going for a great review activity. I can guarantee you that the smiles and feeling the students have during an activity like this will be one that you will feel and want to replicate. And if it doesn't go perfect, no problem. Try it again in a few weeks with what you learned about running it the first time. Were you an expert pickleball player when you tried it for the first time? Yeah, probably not. If you stunk up the court, did you put the paddles away and never bring them out again? Probably not. You tried it again. Students don't remember flawless lessons. They remember moments. They remember how they felt during an activity or a lesson. That feeling is something you helped create because you too want that for yourself. Remember, when you enjoy a lesson, students feel it instantly. So as you head into this new year, here's the reminder. Autopilot is tempting, especially in January. AI is powerful, and it's here to stay. But your students didn't sign up for autopilot, and you didn't become a teacher to sound like a machine. Let AI support your teaching, but don't let it replace your voice, because presence beats perfection every single time.